Welcome back to the Wolff Den presented by Win Again Academy. I'm Matt Wolff, founder of Ticket Time Machine. Today we welcome Marcelo Trisano to the show. Welcome to the Den. How are you?
Thank you, Matt. Thank you for the invitation. By the way, your theme music is incredible. It's really epic.
Appreciate that. So Marcelo and I met at a networking group called Common Events, which is founded by Brian McCausland, who runs a company called EventThem, and you are an event planner with EventThem. But tell everybody what else that you do, and we'll have a great conversation about music and networking and events, all the stuff we love to do, right?
Yeah, sounds good, Matt. Well, my name is Marcelo Trisano. As Matt mentioned, I work at EventThem, which is a full spectrum events company. We can do everything that you need or just fill the blanks. And we just opened our studios in Medford, and I'm taking charge of the technical aspect, the audio engineering of, for instance, our podcast studio, the recording studio for music and such. And well, besides that, I'm very passionate about music. I've been a musician for a long time. I actually studied that for my undergraduate, music production. And now I'm part of a band called FM Collective, and we've been performing more and more regularly, which is something really exciting for me. And as we'll talk, we're releasing a project very soon.
So EventThem, you have the studio. Medford is Massachusetts. It's just outside of Boston. So a lot of local events and a lot of local stuff that EventThem does, but also a lot more than just local, right? It's other types of events that you can buy tickets for, as well as other events that happen outside of the Boston area.
Right, yeah. Most of the events we cater to are in the, let's say, in the Boston area, but for instance, the ticketing is nationwide. So right now you're in Florida and you want to see a game or a show, you can also get your tickets from us and anywhere in the US, as well as the Common Roots networking group we have going on too. It doesn't matter where you are in the world, you can still join, connect. As we know, a lot of what's done nowadays is remote, and work can be done efficiently anyway. So we welcome people from anywhere really to connect with us.
Yeah, I got introduced to Brian and joined the Common Roots. It's Tuesday mornings at 9 a.m. and good conversation about business with people that are in different industries, doing different things, have different ideas. We all come from different backgrounds. It's not a typical networking event where you just have someone who's specific for this industry. We're not trying to pass leads and referrals, although certainly any time that happens, it's a bonus. How did you get involved with EventThem and Common Roots and Brian?
Yes, I was a student at Northeastern University. I was getting my master's in music industry, and I was looking for internships. What at Northeastern they call co-ops. I saw one, they were looking for live music producer, and I was like, wow, because you rarely see a music position open in the job market like that. So I immediately clicked on it and saw what it was about. I applied and got to meet Brian McCausland and Jen Lawrence, both who run the company. And I think I feel like it was a match immediately on a personal level. I understood their principles, what they were trying to accomplish really with the company, the involvement with the community. All of those things really attracted me to that position. And I applied, started as an intern, and just helping collaborating in the events they were running, maybe with sound, with staging, the lights. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot just from being out there, of how he would run events, of how they would make sure that everything is thought of ahead of time, because things happen and you gotta be ready. If it starts raining, pouring, you gotta be ready to have the necessary things to cover the speakers, for instance. All these little stuff that might go over your head. I really learned that planning, about that planning stage, how crucial it is. And it's not just oh, it's a day off, we bring our stuff and it all runs smoothly. It's rarely like that. And what makes EventThem a professional company is that whenever they work with you, they consider all these things that can happen, and we are sure to be ready for them, for these challenges.
One of the things that I like to do when I have interns is I like to have them, it's sort of a broad internship. There's certainly a lot of things that needs to get done, and a lot of it's targeted like, hey, maybe it's social media, maybe it's graphics, maybe it's research, sales, whatever. It sounds like you had a little bit of a hand in a lot of different things, which is really makes you more valuable as an employee, and helps you try maybe things that you didn't know you wanted to do. I mean, I think when you're young and you're at that stage, we really don't know what we want to do. If we start to ask people, hey, what did you want to do when you were in college, and compare that to where they are 5, 10, 20 years after, there's probably not a lot of, hey, I this is what I thought I wanted to do, and here's where I'm at. So it sounds like it was a pretty good experience for you.
It was, and besides that, of getting experience in social media, marketing, all these things that I would learn from and put in practice. At EventThem, I also found a freedom to explore my own projects as well, develop them. For instance, the music recording studio, it's me who's leading it, who's trying to bring in the people, say what exactly the services would be, and provide those. As well as I have that freedom to put on my own events. Right now, the one I've been working on the most, focusing on the most, are FIFA tournaments. It's a soccer game, very popular, and has been going on for many years. But I realized there wasn't any tournaments locally for that video game, and it has a great appeal, especially for international people. It's growing in the US, I must say, especially with the World Cup coming up. But I think there was a great demand for something like this, but basically no supply of this specific event. So I try to combine all these things that I was learning into putting my own event, let's say, at the studios in Medford, Massachusetts, and it's been growing really well, and I'm very pleased of how it's coming out.
Yeah, being in on the first few employees that are hired from a company is a huge advantage, especially when you're early on in your stage, and it says something that you were hired to be full time from an internship position, which I don't know any stats on it. I'm just guessing, but I'm thinking it doesn't happen as often. I know my brother had an internship and was offered a job before he graduated, but he had to graduate, so he couldn't take it, and then it wasn't available. So what did you look at doing otherwise? I assume you were probably looking at work as you're interning and getting ready for graduating. What else was there on your radar?
I think the most available, let's say, position out there in the market for jobs that I was considering was being a studio engineer. So I would basically go into a studio in town and just record session after session after session, do mixing. It can be a full-time job. That was an option. I studied that, but something about being in a closed space for so many hours still doesn't sound too appealing for me. With events, I feel like I have liberty to be in change settings, change the people I'm with, change environments. I think sometimes being even in the open, so many events, especially now in spring, summer, are outside, and I love that part of it. Studio work is very fun too, and you can get really creative. But people who do it as a job really spend most of their times in the studio. Uh, so I don't know if that would have aligned so well with me.
Yeah. FM Collective, that's the name of your band. You guys got some exciting stuff coming up, including new music that comes out on April 20th, which is a couple of weeks away. Tell us more about the band, how it started, and what type of music you guys are.
Yeah, FM Collective is a project that excites me a lot because first we're all friends before a band, and that's how the band came about. We met at while studying at Berkeley, and we were good friends, and we realized we all had half for hip hop music, but in subtle different ways. Each one likes a particular artist more than others, and that's cool. And besides that, we all, for the most part, have different nationalities. We play different kind of music besides the band. Like our pianist who's from Turkey, Cenk, he's into free jazz a lot. Our drummer, Augusto from Argentina, he plays metal, heavy progressive metal, uh, on his other band too. So we have all these different influences. When it got together as a group of friends of FM Collective, it suddenly was a very rich sound, uh, colorful, new, because I feel it's very palpable, like the combination. It's very eclectic, the combination of different styles that we bring into, and we try to be authentic. We're not trying to really do something to please, let's say, the big majority who are expecting a hip hop album, a rap album. We're not trying to just give what they would typically expect, but really explore, experiment what sounds good, and it's a good feeling. It's a good feeling to feel like we're creating a new sound and building our own identity as a group.
Well, are you the singer, lead singer, guitar? I know you mentioned drum and guitar.
Yeah, I'm the lead vocalist, but I rap in Spanish, and when lately more in English. I think that the change in languages can offer me like many more possibilities, in terms of rhythm, delivery, everything. Uh, but we also have a singer, a proper singer from New Orleans. His name is Jacob, and he sings mostly in English and some Spanish. So when you come to a show, you get these blast of raps in Spanish with a lot of energy, and then you get the hooks that are very catchy with a guy who has, to me, an angelic voice. So there's this contrast of languages, of types of voices on what we do. He sings, I rap. So I think even in that aspect of the band, there's this combination of what's going on.
Is there a big Hispanic population in Boston? I know it's a huge city, and obviously, probably it's very much like um, any other big city where there's a big melting pot. But is there a lot of
Mhm.
Hispanic culture over in the area?
I know in certain areas, for instance, if you go to East Boston, you realize a lot of the people are Latin, and you'll see many Latin restaurants and shops. I think that's the hub, I would say, for Latin people. But to be honest, since we've been playing in the area, most of our listeners have been non-Spanish speakers, and at first I was a bit intimidated by that. I was like, what if they think I'm just talking gibberish? They disconnect from the music because they don't understand what I'm saying. What if they don't? And and it didn't turn out to be that way. And on the other hand, I feel like they connect, they get close to us. You see them grooving, dancing. And I think also the fact of me knowing that they wouldn't understand what I was saying made me improve or work more on other areas, like my cadences, my flow, my stage presence. It helped me work on other areas besides the lyrics themselves, and what I'm saying. So
Yeah, I'm a
mhm,
beats guy. I love the beat, the background, the music, the lyrics. They'll get me if the beat gets me. There's not a lot
mhm,
of songs out there that I'm just all excited about the lyrics, and that's probably because I like mostly faster music. When the songs are slower, I think there's more time and effort to really listen to what's being said. And if they're,
Hmm.
some have a good message. But so to your point, I'm not sure it matters if I can understand what you're saying. I could still sit there and listen and really enjoy the music that I'm hearing.
Hmm. That's great, and that's why I think people say, and I think it's true, that music is a universal language. It goes way beyond any language barrier we might have. We can listen to songs that we understand and still feel moved by the melody or by the beat. If it drives us, it drives us. Doesn't matter what they're saying or if we understand or not. So I'm glad that it was this way. That fear of not being understood necessarily went away. So now, if you tell me I'm performing to a crowd and most of them won't understand the lyrics per se, I'll still give it my all and still feel well received for the most part.
Is there a band? Obviously, you guys have a little bit of a unique sound with the different types of influences that the members have. But is there a band that people have said maybe you remind them of, or that there is more influence than others?
Mm, I don't think I've heard from other people say that we sound similar to a specific, but we as a band recognize that we sound similar to August Green. This is a project led by a very renowned jazz and hip hop pianist called Robert Glasper. He's probably one of the main figures in music to combine these two genres, hip hop and jazz. He has even clinics at Berklee College of Music as well. I was studying there. Um, and when we listened to a performance of them, of this band that he leads called August Green, and we saw the singer, singing really catchy hooks, but then you will have these really jazzy interludes. Where I was like, wow, like they align really really well with what we do. So I think that that's an inspiration for us. Like we would listen to the songs again and again because we would love what they do. So I think August Green, if you're into jazzy but in a more modern way, combining it with the styles of today, I would recommend that people check out Robert Glasper. um, he also collaborates with many different artists, some in the mainstream, and he's able to pull out these tunes. I think people will love it. So check it out, Robert Glasper, August Green. I put it out
We
there.
use the word success. It means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. What
Hmm.
is success? What does success look like for you in the big picture for FM Collective?
Success for FM Collective, I think it would be that we can dedicate all of our energy to performing, to recording, to playing, and I think for this to be our life, like I think it's everyone's passion really and everyone's dream. um it's such a high when we get to play a live show. It doesn't matter the number of people that are in a place. Like we leave the room feeling so excited that we can't stop thinking about it before when we're rehearsing, looking forward to this moment. So I would want that to be a constant thing in my life. That's not like here and there, it's happening and it's building, but really pack the calendar with dates, go to new cities that I haven't been, uh, did our music for them, and to connect with other people. I think that's the dream, really, to travel and play music. To me, that would be the ultimate dream.
Yeah, I think any major artist or band will tell you that the beginnings for them were playing in a dive bar or an
Hmm.
audience of six, where four of them
Hmm.
weren't even listening, paying attention. I mean, for me, it feels like with karaoke. You go to a bar, half the people aren't even paying attention, but you go up and sing, and you get comfortable. It's almost, it doesn't matter whether you're singing in front of 1,000 people or 10 people.
Hmm.
For you, that the goal is the same, right? Is to perform the best and to um, right? Really elicit some type of response, physical or emotional, from the crowd. And so that doesn't change whether you're playing in front of a few people or many people.
Exactly, exactly. It's the same reward gratification that you see how you made someone's day better after the show. If they had a good time and then they enjoyed the music and they danced and all this stuff, they leave feeling joy, and that gives me joy. So it's like a mutual thing, and I also think believe that's it's the best thing that I can do. So I feel that I say I feel like in my natural state when I'm performing. I feel like that's what I was meant to do. That's what I wouldn't rather be anywhere else. You know, when I'm performing, I'm not thinking, oh, I want to be here, I want to be there, doing this, doing that. I'm in the present moment and enjoying every single thing about it. So that's how I know. That's
What
what I
was
want
your
to do.
music when you were younger? I mean, you're young now, but when you were younger, and has that changed at all to now?
My music taste.
Your music taste when you were younger, and like, just give me some examples of what you
Yeah,
grew up listening
my
to, and then what you're into now.
I think when I was a kid, uh, I was always driven by the urban beats. Let's say by urban music in general. It always my attention. I always loved the beat about it. But when I started listening to music on my own, let's say, and developed my own tastes, I was really a big fan of reggaeton music, which is like Latin's equivalent sort of hip hop. Party music, catchy cooks, some raps in Spanish, and figures like Daddy Yankee, and those have been able to cross over too into the U.S. and create massive hits. Also popularizing Latin music. Um, so that's how my love for urban music began. But then when I heard rappers from the U.S., I started developing a like more of a love for that music. I started driving away from reggaeton because the beats are different. What they say, that the lyrical content is also different. A lot of elements are very different, and I would listen to a lot of Eminem. I think he was like the first one that I listened to that I was like, what is he doing? And how can he do that? I want to do that, because all these words and making them rhyme at the same time, it still sound cool and saying something funny at the same time. He was doing all these things and with all this energy. He immediately became my favorite artist. I just eat all his discography nonstop. That was my everyday meal. And
I'm hot and cold on Eminem. Some of his stuff I think is awesome, and some of it I can't really get into. But that's probably more my taste
mhm.
for rap and hip hop. But he has a hook on the Godzilla track where I didn't even know it's humanly possible to speak that quickly and rap and get. And the impressive thing for me is how do you even remember that to say it so fast and nail it if you're performing. Now, I've never actually seen him perform live. It's on my bucket list, but it's really a difficult thing to do, rapping.
Yes.
There's a lot of people who aren't rappers who will throw a little bit of rap or hip hop into their mix. There's a lot of crossover these days.
hmm And Eminem in particular is somebody who can, when he does it live, he will sound even better than on the record. A lot of artists need like just some voices in the back, from the track to help them out when they run out of breath. He doesn't need that. He's a master, and he came from the battle rap scene where he would have to do it all live, all in the moment. He had to impress the crowd, otherwise he would lose. So I think that part of him never left, and that's why he's so great. That competitive side of him, to show really why he's the best in the stage. Um, and then I went back to the 90s. Once I was like, okay, if Eminem is this good, who were his masters? Who did he listen to? And that's when I started listening to 90s rap, even late 80s, but mostly 90s. To me, it's like Tupac, Biggie, Nas, Jay-Z. Wu-Tang. All these bands were like eh, amazing to me because they were saying such intricate things and still were at the forefront, in the charts. Um, I think hip hop then started going away from like the skills. Let's say it was less about what can you do, how complex can you get with your bars. It started more to a more pop sound with autotune coming out, singing simpler lyrics, and that also takes other type of skills. It's not better or worse, but that's the moment where I started like driving a little way of hip hop and really not staying in touch, up to date, and start exploring other genres like jazz or classical blues.
What's your take on the lip syncing that goes on? It really kills me when I see a live performance and they're not clearly using a track, and not just a track a little bit. It's fully a track, and they're up there. It's the Macy's Day Parade. It's on TV at Saturday Night Live, and it's even sometimes at the Super Bowl. It's like if you can't, it's such a there's such a focus on the event and dancing, and
Mm-hmm.
I want to hear you sing. There's a lot of people who can get up there and dance. I want to hear you sing.
Mm-hmm.
It really is a pet peeve of mine. How do you feel about that?
The same, and I don't know how I would feel if I paid a lot of money for a ticket to see a performance where I'm not really seeing a performance, let's say a musical performance. I've seen some clips and they will sing one word of the whole verse and let the people sing to the track, and that's fun if people are having a good time. But um, yeah, if I'm paying to see a concert, I really want to hear the artist's voice. Otherwise, I just stay at home and put the album with my headphones or the speakers and enjoy it better, probably. So I'm with you there. I think artists should work and towards being able to deliver live, and I think it's okay to receive support, production wise, so the event sounds better, it looks better, but I think there should be a commitment on the artist, at least to try to be better, on stage and not just conform.
Who was it? It wasn't Kanye, was it? Who was at the festival and they didn't even sing. I mean, literally just stood up there and had a track going. Oh, it's killing me here.
In Coachella.
It just happened. It might have been Coachella. It just literally happened. Um, what the
Frank
heck?
Ocean, maybe I heard some things about Frank Ocean's set in Coachella. I'm not sure that he wouldn't really sing much. Not sure that's the case, but
This
people are
one's, it
still
was
doing.
two well-known artists who were just stood up on stage.
Oh.
Man, I'm gonna have to remember. It'll probably hit me after this. Um, I don't know. Anyway, they literally just stood on stage and danced. I don't know, moved around. I think everyone knew that they weren't singing, but they were pretending to sing. Anyway, let's get off my soapbox here for thing. Just one of the things that really aggravates me when I'm at a live performance specifically, but also when I'm watching on television too. I mean, to me, I don't need you to perform if you're not performing. And some of these are at
Right.
awards, and I get, you see, live, right? It's all about being live, and can you get the sound to go? There's plenty of people who can get the sound the way they need to without doing it. And I think if people
Mhm.
would be okay with a little bit of it, if it didn't sound as good, but that's who it is. If they like the song, they want to hear the song sang, in the way that they like it.
And how do you feel about autotune when it really got popular in music today?
I
Now
don't
it's everywhere.
I don't mind auto tune because I think it just adds. It's almost, and I'm not like a music nerd where I have a lot of in depth knowledge about what goes on behind it. But to me, it's
Hmm.
almost like a guitar where it has that extra thing at the end.
Hmm.
You know, but there's a sound to it. I still think there's a talent. to people singing, even if it is in auto tune. So I don't have as much problem with that,
Hmm.
but there certainly are performances and records that are way too much computer. I know there was some. It was all over the news today about all these artists who wrote an open letter about not letting AI take over. The,
Oh,
yeah, the industry. It's like 200 something. Or I don't know what they can do. I feel like there's not much that they can do to stop it, but we'll see what happens.
yes. Are you optimistic about AI in general? Or?
Yeah, I don't love it, but I think there's certainly good use case for it. The most important thing is, and this is, in my opinion, what happens to a lot of people is that they don't embrace it. Or whether I like it or not, it's here. I should
Hmm.
embrace it, and so that's really, I think what people should focus on, not whether or not you like it or not, but you embrace it because it's a part of what we're doing, and then hopefully lead the charge to I don't fixing it, making sure it's doing what it should, not in the hands of people who are wanting to do bad with it, and that's the
Hmm.
technology today. There was an interesting thing on the Daily Show with Jon Stewart, who's talked about all of the disruptive technologies that's happened in our lifetime has taken decades or years, and this stuff is all evolving within a few months. So it's that type of technology it's tough. People see it and they kind of go all in on it without even actually knowing what it is and talking about how this is going to be this, and we're really sort of at the beginning stages, even though it's been around for a while. But we're sort of
Hmm.
still, I feel like, at the beginning stages.
Yes, yeah, you certainly are, and as you just mentioned, like the changes are happening by the day, big changes, and I'm with you there. We should embrace it because it's here to stay, and I think humanity, throughout history, has been able to adapt to the changes, and for the most part, live better than how they were living before. I'm sure, like when the internet also came up, it took some people by surprise, or they were intimidated by what the internet could do, and now there are wonderful uses to it. Uh, I think bad people who use technology the wrong way will always exist, but
Yeah.
um,
Well, the thing is, I feel like we don't want to make it easier for them, easy or
mm,
easier for them to accomplish it, and that's what a lot of this technology is doing.
yeah.
Just my opinion. Are you the primary songwriter for the group, or is it a group effort?
So for the lyrics of the raps, yes, it's all me. Um, but for the music part, it's usually a collective thing that one will come up with an idea, maybe just like a small motif on the piano, and we jam a lot. So that means that we sit in a room, start playing, nothing in mind, really just to see what happens, improvising. And so if somebody comes up with a good idea, with a good musical idea, then the drummer may start laying a beat on top of it. The bass drummer might add a line to it, and so it started becoming like a loop, like a groove that's going on. And once it feels like established, I can start rhyming a little bit on top of it, and just feeling the rhythm. Then the singer can come and sing a hook, and like a chorus, something that's catchy, easy to sing. And those are our songs for the most part come about. Started as an idea, somebody, and then we just add to it, as a
It
group.
sounds it sounds a lot like one of my favorite bands these days, AJR. They have a lot of that where they have these sounds and they just kind of get the sounds going, and then they do a job. And if you see them multiple times, it can get annoying. But during their
Mm.
show, they will take a portion of it to explain how they write a song. I've seen them a bunch of times,
Oh.
so I've seen the same explanation. But they talk and they use this, the synthesizer and different sounds that they hear, and just kind of add it in, and then it kind of makes the music. I don't know. Does that happen more where the music comes first and then you write the songs, or someone has songs and you try and create the music, or someone creates the music behind? I remember hearing it somewhere where, and again, I can't. I'm not. It's not much help today. I feel like it was Billy Joel, where someone came to him and said, uh, "Here's the song." It might have even been my friend Steve Everett, I think, where someone came to him with the music, the beat that he had, and he said, "All right, write a song to it." Do you think that happens more than writing the song out first and then creating the music?
Yes, for the most part, I let the music uh, create the words, like feed beat, so that the words come naturally and that the rhythm sits on the beat. That's how I like the words to like sit on the beat, uh, and follow also the whatever the music is doing. I wanna be writing the same wave. There's also another option, as you mentioned. We can change the process around, and I can maybe write a verse and then rap it, and so they can add their part to it. But and that I feel would bring out a different result, more of a poetic one, if you will. Um, Whereas when I'm what we call spitting over the beat, already like created beat or a foundation, I think it tends to be maybe less poetic but more musical. So I try to find a balance between these two, because I want it to be musical in the sense that it's following the music and not just standing out randomly. But I also don't want to sacrifice the content, what I'm actually saying. I want both things to be on point and that I feel satisfied with it, with what I'm saying and how I'm saying it.
Yeah, one of the things that amazes me is the how there's so much new music that's it feels new and different when there's not a lot. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there's not a lot of chords and on a guitar or in a piano
Hmm.
or the drums. There's just not a lot of different things you can play. But when depending on the order of it, it just comes out and
Hmm.
sounds real new. And
Hmm.
that seems a little surprising to me. I start to think of in my head like, hey, I'd love to come up with a song, and even just to try and think of a beat, it's hard for me to come up with something that hasn't been done before. You start gravitating towards something that you've already heard.
Yes. But when you study popular music, you'll realize that nothing they do is new.
Yeah,
Nobody really is reinventing the wheel when they create a new song. In fact, with popular music, which we love, uh, it's 99% of the time it's always in a beat of four. For instance, that's a common pattern, and you get the backbeat, on two and four. You have the kick drum on one with the bass. So and same similar progressions with, as you said, 3 4 chords, maybe even less, and that just repeats over and over. And you cannot really copyright a progression, let's say, of chords, or you cannot copyright a drum beat. uh, you
yeah,
you can protect the whole song with the lyrics and the music and all how you put it together, but the elements that make it, nothing is new really.
yeah. I think so. I'm a headliner guy. I love pop music.
Hmm.
I love what's popular, and that's not to say I don't like more independent music. I know you had talked about this at one of our networking groups. I do. I go to a lot of the concerts and festivals where I see and hear people that I've never heard before. I go through the new music every Friday and see, hey, is there someone I'm not hearing? So I have a little bit of new stuff, and it's more like a pot. Like, hey, I like one of your songs. I like one of your songs. It's just hard to. It's just harder to get more wide, more mainstream, because it's like, look, I'll pay, I'll go see anyone for free, especially if
Hmm.
it's outdoors. I love music. But now you start saying, hey, can you go and sell $20, $25 tickets to see? And then you're saying, all right, there's not as many people that I would pay that much just to go see. And so it
Hmm.
becomes harder for these smaller bands. There's definitely ways to do it, right? You can put out your own music on YouTube, on Instagram. You don't even need to be published. It doesn't have to be studio. People could like what you do. Um, I'm going to a music festival this weekend, but there's other festivals where there's 100, 200 people, half of them whom you've never heard of. So you can get on there. What do you think is going to be your guys' pathway to becoming more well known and maybe getting that chance where someone hears you and they want to have you on their tour?
Mhm. That's definitely, I think that's a change that's happening with technology available like it is now. Anybody can put out their music, and anybody can create a hit from their bedroom, uh, and the cost can be really low, and the returns can be great, to the point that, imagine you create a song one day in your room, you post it on TikTok, let's say, and people love it and they're sharing it, and it has this viral effect. Your life takes a U-turn overnight, basically, because then you have brands reaching out, then you have agents reaching out. um, so those types of changes happen all the time, really. um, so yes, it makes it harder. The pool has got bigger of artists, so it's harder to stand out and really, let's say, make it, because there's more competition. Your product gets drowned, but at the same time, there's also this democracy of who gets to make it. If your product really catches on fire, let's say, in the most positive sense, then you can even lead an independent career where you have your fans, you sell your shows, you own the music. Because when you sign to a record label, you're getting this budget for promotion, distribution, even touring, but you're giving them ownership of your music. So maybe down the line, if you sign a contract too early, for instance, you sign a contract for X amount of years for this amount, maybe you lost the opportunity to wait for a year or two where your band got much bigger, or your act got much bigger, and you could have got a much better deal. So a lot of it is, how you do your moves, when you do them. And I think independent is being the way for many artists who will advocate for, stay independent if you really want to control your career.
Yeah.
Uh,
Give
it
me
can happen that they sign you and they never put out your music and you're stuck and it's terrible.
Yeah, look, there's
Right.
plenty of people I know who are independent singer-songwriters or have a band that play, and that's what they do, and that's their career. And they've, uh, we talked earlier about success. They get paid to play. They don't make a ton of
Mhm.
money, right? They're not making millions of dollars, but they're getting paid to play and do what they love, which is not an easy thing to do in this life.
Mhm.
So if that's what you love to do and you can find a way to do it, you could play years and years and years and never really be in front of more than 1,000 people, right? That's a
Mhm.
pretty big crowd, but not, it's not 20,000. And when you start to get to some of these bigger venues, or 40,000 or whatever Taylor Swift is, she
Right.
just, something that is incredible to me was, and I like Taylor Swift. There's a lot of Taylor Swift. I would probably say this about a lot of articles, a lot of artists, is that I really like a lot of their stuff, and some of their stuff, if I hear it, I'm turning the channel. They're just so different. Some of my
Mhm.
favorite bands are not that different. The bands like Green Day and Weezer and Blink, and they kind of a lot of it sounds similar. Even like when Pearl Jam, my friend's a big Pearl Jam fan. He's like, you hear the band, and you're like, I know that's who that is because they have that sound to it. But it's
Mhm.
real impressive that Taylor, I just heard, hit the $1 billion mark with her music. It's not like, you talk about athletes and other musicians who star in, all this other stuff like endorsements and advertisement and
Mhm.
contracts, and that's like, she hit that number without all that stuff just on her music, which is it's incredible. um yeah, I just wanted to say
She's a
that.
phenomenon. She's a phenomenon, no doubt. Like, there will be a before and after. Taylor Swift for sure.
Yeah. And give me it's so hard, like when I start talking about movies, which is one thing I'm real passionate about, maybe just as much as music, maybe. I can give you my top 5, my top 10 movies. I can't really give you my top 5 songs or 10 songs, but I can tell you songs that I really love and some that I like that people hate. I mean, I have such a wide range of music. Do you have a song that you really like? Give me 2 songs, both that are, it doesn't have to be your favorite or even something that you would think is probably in your top 10 or 20. One song that people almost all know and a song that people probably might not have heard of.
Yes, "Lose Yourself" by Eminem, as we were talking about, it would be one of them. What a song! I think it's like the perfect rap song. For me, you can't get better than that. And decades will go by, and if he still plays it live, he plays rarely, but whenever he does, people will still react the same way from the very beginning.
Yeah,
Of the
great.
song.
It catches you. It's like slow and it builds up and then it just hits you.
It's a masterpiece, and
Do you
putting
know
that to a
Revenge?
movie,
Yeah. Do you know the song
Revenge.
Revenge? It's an Eminem collaboration with Pink. It's called Revenge.
Yes,
Yeah, I love that. That's on my playlist. I play it all the time.
yes. Um,
And then
I
give me
know
a
one
song that
song,
maybe
one
people might not know that you really like.
a song that, yes, I'm trying to think. Well, I would go for a classical piece. I didn't mention these, but I'm a violin player since I'm a kid. That's actually my beginning music with the violin. I studied that also at Berkeley and the conservatory in Peru, even before all the rapping stuff. And um,
I think that's a
yes,
great add to a band and music, especially live. I remember it first lately came in. I think we saw it on America's Got Talent. The guy who played the electric violin, and it adds such a great sound and a different sound to it. It's kind of like in the country with Alabama. If you're going to play in Texas, you got to have a fiddle in the band. Like to throw a violin in the band, and I think it really adds to it. Do you play a lot of violin in your shows, or?
I've recorded some for the album. I haven't pulled it out in a show yet, but it's definitely it's an idea. And we're even I play a classical violin, but I'm considering even bringing an electric violin, so it just like matches the energy of the show. But I would pick a piece from the violin repertoire as my second song that I could keep on my iPod, my iPhone forever. And it's called Concerto in E minor by Mendelssohn. He's a German composer from the Romantic period, and it's a journey. It's one piece that also grabs you from the beginning. You play one motif, and then the way he develops it throughout and then brings it in a climax, and then winds down. It's, to me, classical music has that effect of, and you have to be willing to go in this journey. It's not like I'm not talking about putting it in the background and let it sit while you cook, or no, I'm talking about really trying to picture the painting that the composer is putting. He's painting a picture for you with sounds, with the orchestra, with the violin. And if you concentrate, and I'm sure the reward you get is huge. And it's different from popular music because it's a little longer. It's just a different kind of style. So if I had to pick 2 songs, I would pick one that to me masterpiece from the popular contemporary repertoire that resonates with me deeply, and then this classical piece, Mendelssohn's Violin Concerto, which it's also a journey, but of a different type.
I'm almost positive.
More...
Almost positive I heard it on Jeopardy as one of the Jeopardy answers. That
we
all know a couple composers, and every time that comes up, you're just like Beethoven and Mendelssohn. It's like, all right, man, got a chance that I might get it right somewhere in there. Give me the venue that you've been at, your favorite venue that you've seen music at, and the venue that you would love to play the most with your band.
Yes, I will never forget the first concert I went to. It was a reggaeton concert. I went with my dad and my brother, and it was in an open space in Peru called Jockey Club, because it's a place where they run the horses. Um, and it was huge. It was a sea of people to see these reggaeton artists, and I was amazed. I was a kid, and it was the first time I saw a crowd like that, and I think that was a moment that also changed me. It was like, I want to be involved in something like this, and a place that I would like to play. Why not? I'm gonna shoot high. TD Garden would be amazing. It would be like, for me, Boston has become like a second home to me. It feels like even my city, like somewhere I belong, somewhere I'm happy, where I'm comfortable, and I know what TD Garden represents. It's the top of
Any
the
venue
top,
any venue, and that's the one. TD right there in Boston.
because it would feel like a full circle moment.
Yeah,
I came
I get it.
here as a student, and I completed. I finished the game. If I have a show at TD Garden, like, I completed the game. You
There's
know,
the Jingle Ball plays there all the time. I could see you guys, if you can get some momentum, getting into something like that. That might be the start of it. Could be a full circle moment, but also maybe it might be the start of what you guys are trying to do. I love, one of my favorite live performers is Michael Fronte, and I'm actually going to be seeing him this weekend. He's a little bit of pop, a little bit of reggae, a little bit of hip hop. He's changed, he's evolved. He started as reggae, and now he's more pop. But it's just such a positive message, and just the most fun you could have as a fan you don't even need to know his music, and you'll love the show. That's the type of performance that I like. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. We're going to let you out of the Wolff Den with the same question that everyone gets. You can spend 24 hours with anybody in the world, but they have to be alive, and you can't be related to them. Who would you choose, and what would you guys do? It doesn't have to be related to music. It could be anyone, but it could be
yeah.
music as well.
I would say Cristiano Ronaldo.
Ronaldo.
He's to me an example of determination. Of, if I set my mind to do this, I'm gonna do it, and nothing the world tells me will stop me from doing it.
You play soccer? I know you have the FIFA tournament on the games, but you play a little bit of soccer?
I do mostly with friends. Nothing professional or any of that sort, but it's always fun, especially in the summer, to go out, kick some ball. It's always an amazing time to connect also with the community. It's a lovely sport for me.
And who's your soccer team?
Real Madrid.
Real Madrid.
Life. Yeah, that's where Ronaldo used to play and was a star. And the other big rival was Barcelona with Messi. So at that time, it was the peak moment in soccer history, I think, when it was happening.
I'm going to France for the Olympics this summer, and I'm going to get to see the USA women's soccer play a match. I'm really excited for that. I did get to see a lower league in Germany many years ago, and it's a really unbelievable experience. The culture of soccer, even for a team that's not a league that didn't mean a whole lot, and so I'm really looking forward to seeing that. What would you and Ronaldo do? Play a little bit of soccer?
I would try to,
music?
just get all the wisdom. He's a big music lover, that I know. So we would certainly talk about music. We will go to the pitch. He can try to kick free kicks like that. But I would try to get that wisdom. Try to really get that, his mindset. It's something that you have to talk to somebody to really get. And I would learn so much of life, from such a good role model. To me, he's a role model for people and kids.
Well, if you are in the Boston area, Medford, Somerville, check out EventThem. Go to the venue, podcast recording, music recording, just a general great space for events. Reach out to Marcelo for any more information, or check out online, EventThem.com, or the Instagram, EventThem Now. And then check out FM Collective Music. That's their Instagram handle. New music coming out on the 20th. and you can pre-save it on Spotify. I don't know if I use Spotify. Will I be able to get it on Amazon Music?
You will. Once it drops, yes. Once it releases, you'll be able to listen.
I will be listening to it and saving it. Looking forward. We're hoping to do an in-person event in Boston in June around the Savannah Bananas game that's coming to Fenway. Ticket Time Machine and EventThem are going to partner on a great networking event. So stay tuned for more information from that. FM Collective, April 20th. Really appreciate you coming on and chatting about all things music. You're obviously a student of music, which is it's a pleasure to talk to someone who is that. I'm a lover of music. I don't have really anything intellectual to say about music other than what I like and what I don't like. So it's interesting and to hear someone who really knows about music and lives it to get more information about it. So tune in. We got another episode next week. Until then, have a great night. Do something good for someone and enjoy yourself. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.